Hello, here I am again. Today I'm wearing a pullover. Yesterday I forgot to change my t-shirt. I want to try and be a bit smarter for these presentations. Anyway, um, today I'm going to talk to you about becoming vegan for your health. So, given that this is um, given that the idea behind this is health for over 50-year-olds, um, you know, I'm presuming that you are indeed over 50 and perhaps thinking about how you can stay healthy into your old age. You know, um, I think that there's a lot of agreement. I think we'd all agree that it's not how long you live, it's the quality of your life. And if you're anything like me and really enjoying life, and to the full, and you've got grandchildren or you've children and you want to see them grow up and all the rest of it, it's, staying healthy is a really important part. I mean, my own father, he's now nearly 80 years old, but the last 15 years of his life have been, well, he's not been very active. I mean, his story began, and my story in a way as well, interestingly enough. Age 63, he was diagnosed with heart disease. And, I remember him telling me on the phone that he didn't expect to have heart disease. And I remember thinking, no, I didn't expect him to have heart disease either, but he did. He was always fairly active, a plumber, went on walks, relatively active, played golf, but he was overweight and ate, of course, the normal diet. Anyway, he was diagnosed with heart disease. He went to see the doctor and he was put on the usual course, the usual journey that everybody goes down. He was told that he would need a stent. So a stent's one of those little tubes that they put down into your artery, widens up the artery. But typically, a stent usually only lasts 2 or 3 years, and it's usually the precursor to a bypass, and that's exactly what happened to my dad. He had to go in for a bypass in 2007. I think it was 3 bypasses that he had actually. So this is the procedure where, if you don't know, which you probably do know, they saw your chest open and then take veins out of your leg and sew them onto your heart to bypass the blockage. It's a fairly extreme operation, and this is what happened to my dad. And I remember him coming home. I went over to England to fetch him out of hospital, and I remember talking to him about everything at that point. On his release, he was actually in a good mood. I think he was on lots of opiates. And I remember the hospital had sent him at home with a little pamphlet about his diet. And so I was leafing through this pamphlet and I said to him, "Hey, Dad, you're going to have to change your diet." And he said to me that he already did everything that it said in there. And I said, "Dad, but you don't." I said, "A third of this is to eat fruit and vegetables." "Yeah, apart from that," he said, "I do everything that it says in that pamphlet." So this is the thing that got me interested, because obviously I'm his son, and I didn't want to follow that same path as my dad. I didn't want to end up with heart disease. Definitely didn't want to have a bypass operation. So it was that really that got me started on wondering how I could actually perhaps improve my own diet. But that's not how I got into being vegan. That came through my daughter, but also because of health. I mean, one of the most powerful, amazing things about going vegan is that you're doing, regardless of what disease you can think. Well, no, that's not quite true. Virtually all chronic diseases are at least helped or fueled by our typical diet based on animal plant-based products. But before I get into that, I was searching, and then my daughter, quite for different reasons, decided to go vegetarian, and then later she became vegan. And I remember being shocked. Oh God, where's she going to get her protein from? I remember thinking to myself, she's going to waste away. She's going to have no muscles. She's going to get anemic. She's going to have no energy. No boyfriend will ever want to go out with. All these crazy thoughts that I had, and we're not talking now 10, 20 years ago, literally 6, 7 years ago. This was my mindset, and my daughter assured me that everything would be fine, Dad, that vegans were quite normal people, quite healthy. In fact, they were more healthy than meat eaters. Of course, that was complete nonsense. I said to her, there's no way, where there's the protein, all the minerals, all the iron, all this wonderful stuff that's contained in meat, where are you going to get it from? I remember she said to me, where do you think the animals get it from, Dad? And I'd never really thought about that. And then she said, do you know the strongest animal on the planet? Elephants, gorillas, bears. Bears is not true. Rhinoceros. They're primarily plant eaters. Horses. So they must be getting their strength from somewhere, and of course they were getting it from the plants. But I was on holiday. This was 4.5 years ago, and my daughter came over to me. This was the change that got me really. That changed my mind completely after reading this book. I was on holiday, I was sitting by the pool, and my daughter, who lives in Germany, had come over to join us. And I remember it was the first day. It was the first day of my holiday, and just sitting down by the pool, and my daughter came over and she said, "Hey, Dad," she said, "I know that you're interested in health." She says, "This book is for you. I brought it with me." And she gave me a book, and the book was by Dr. Michael Greger. It's a very famous book now. It was on the New York bestsellers list. It's called How Not to Die. But I'm going to try to put a lot of the things that I mentioned in this video. I'm going to try to put them down below in the show notes so that you can follow up and find it. But I highly recommend you read this book, because it changed my life and set me on the course to becoming vegan. Anyway, so in the book, the first chapter, I believe, is called How Not to Die from Heart Disease. Well, of course, I was very interested in this chapter because of what had happened to my dad and what I didn't want to happen to me. So in this chapter, Dr. Greger explains that in 1990, another doctor, Dr. Ornish, published an article in the Lancet that proved that a low-fat, plant-based diet could not only stop, but could even reverse heart disease. I had to check again. Did I just read that correctly? I thought to myself. So basically, in 1990, it was published to the medical community that you could actually stop or indeed reverse heart disease with a plant-based diet. So, just eating plants. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe what I was reading. So one of the most common killers, I think it's the major cause of death in America. I think it's number 1. In the UK, I'm not sure, but it's certainly very high on the list. So one of our major killers, causes of death, can be cured by eating a plant-based diet. And that was absolutely mind-blowing for me. I couldn't believe what I was reading. So anyway, I continued to reading and continue reading the book. And the book goes on to tell you how not to die from cancer, how not to die from diabetes, how not to die from kidney disease. I think there are altogether 12 or 13 different chronic diseases that are handled in the book, And this book is really good because it explains the science behind it. It explains what's been found, and there's a whole section of references to back up what's been saying. So, and a lot of these things are not new. For instance, I didn't know, but in the 1920s, some French doctor actually discovered that if you put people on a plant-based diet, if you put people who had diabetes 2 on a plant-based diet, that this could cure the disease. So yeah, I think where I'm going is a lot of the chronic diseases that we see today. So even things like cancer, Parkinson's disease, heart disease, kidney disease, all of these chronic diseases, most of them are being caused, as it turns out, by eating meat, but also dairy. It's important when we talk about going vegan. People think it's extreme because you're cutting out the meat and the dairy, but it's important to cut out the dairy because the dairy is often just as bad as the meat from a health perspective. Cheese is actually addictive, so you can get completely addicted to cheese. It's got morphine in it, casomorphine apparently. So yeah, so it's important to remember that we need to cut out both. And another thing what I thought when considering going vegan, of course, was at the beginning all you can think about is all the things that you can't eat anymore. But I'm going to do another video that goes into the wonderful world that opens up when you actually take the step. But basically, the message I want to give to you is, and I think I'm going to do some shorter videos on each of the diseases and what you can eat to stop or alleviate them. I'm not sure. I'm planning the course as I go along, day by day, another video, day by day, another topic. So, but actually going on a plant-based vegan diet is probably the most, I don't think there's any doubt about it actually, I think it is the most powerful thing you can do to remain healthy. Not just physically healthy either, also spiritually healthy. I don't like to use that word, especially in the UK where people are not very spiritual, but it, as well as making your body more healthy, more natural, more in line, improving your digestion. I used to have problem with air in my body. Never knew what it was, never really thought about it, but I used to get like a buildup of air, like I didn't really know, but it was here in my chest area, and it used to be around a lot. It was uncomfortable. Sometimes my stomach would swell, and I just thought it was part of aging, you know. But after switching to a vegan diet, after switching to a plant-based diet, one morning I suddenly thought, well, you know, this air that I used to have is not there anymore. I feel lighter, but also you feel mentally lighter because the saturated fat in meat and dairy products make you heavier. They actually clog your blood, which is in fact what eventually leads to heart disease, which is what my father had. So yeah, I think this video, this presentation, I wanted to say, I think the idea was to try to persuade you, or to perhaps show you that there are so many benefits from becoming vegan, apart from the environment and apart, of course, from the animals. You feel a lot better. You feel a lot better about yourself. Your body feels better. Maybe it's important also to mention now, before I forget, because as you can tell, this is a little bit all off the top of my head. I've got some notes written down here, but I've not used them. Um, you can also go on an unhealthy vegan diet. So there's things like vegan junk food. So if you just ate chips and drank beer, that would be a vegan diet. Now that's not healthy, and I really encourage you that if you're going to do this, then if you want to make the change, please do. It's fantastic. You need to do it in the correct way. You need to learn about food and nutrition, and it's really not that complicated. For example, in the book that I mentioned before, How Not to Die, Dr. Greger has a whole section on diet and things you can eat to make sure you get all the nutrients you need. And what I'm going to do is, because you've joined this course, I'm going to publish that in some later videos. So just find out. I don't know what the section will be called at this point, but I'm going to do some videos on daily nutrition, things that you should be eating every day to stay healthy, strong, fit, virile if you're a man. More about that in another video. You know, it's good. So that's it. I think I'm going to finish this video now. This was the first video on health, and it was just a basic overall view on how much difference a vegan diet can make to your health. It will help you feel better, but it will also help prevent most of the major chronic diseases that across the Western world today. So instead of going to the hospital and just being treated for the disease, you'll be actually taking preventative steps in the food that you eat every day to prevent these things happening, to stay healthy, virile, youthful, and fantastic for the rest of your, if you're 50 now, for the rest of your 50 years on this planet. So yeah, okay, so that's it. I'm going to do another video tomorrow. The structure will all come together as we go along, and thanks for being there.